I want to say that good morning, Ireland, good morning, Dublin. The first time that I came to Dublin was back in 2012. And I was flying over on a regular basis for doing different projects in Dublin and around Dublin. And I've had an amazing time. I haven't come back since 2019. I was walking the streets, and I'm very happy to tell you that I was remembering the different alleys. I was exploring Dublin here and there and all that. I haven't been to the Spire this year, but the attraction apparently this year is your portal, right? From Dublin to New York. But someone from the Only My Friends website went there and shut it down, I think, or something like that. Yeah, so having said that and having the presentation on, a couple of things before I start. This is going to be a very interesting, hopefully a very interesting presentation for you, because it carries a lot of weight when it comes to experience, and it will act, in a sense, as food for thought for the decisions that you will personally make in the future for your own evolution in this industry and your career path. So bear with me. Try to navigate with me the little corners of this presentation, and hopefully by the end of it you will have some very important things to discuss with me, with yourselves, and with your colleagues. Now, I have to stand here because we don't have a microphone. I usually walk around. So, the Uniform Code of Military Justice dictates martial penalties to those officers that send a soldier to the battle without a weapon. There ought to be a similar guideline for the cybersecurity professionals or those leaders who assume these roles of leaders and send their staff into the cyber battlefield without the necessary weapons. Over the years, one of the most important challenges that I have seen in so many organizations, corporations, consulting sessions, is that the people who lead the space, whatever that is, the information security group teams, the cybersecurity teams, the IT teams, it doesn't matter, they expect their people to perform without guiding them towards the right path, without giving them the weapons to fight the everyday battles. This, today, it's been referred to as a skills shortage. I was apparently one of the first people that challenged this narrative, and I said that there isn't a skills shortage. What actually is a very bad, outdated way of hiring people. I don't know how many of you have been to different interviews with different companies and different organizations, but I think some of you, if not many of you, have gone through the process of a very typical, blunt shortlisting process, which, surprising or not, has not been written by the hiring manager. In many cases, it has been copy-pasted or written, put together by the HR department. And in the specialization role that they're trying to hire, the description of the role does not reflect on the requirements, the day-to-day requirements that you need to do, and what do you personally, as an individual, you bring into the picture. Everybody was saying, we need to hire talents. If you Google this, you won't find many definitions of what we mean by talent. I'll tell you what I mean by talent, and I'm doing this to formulate and drive my teams that I've been building over the years. Talent is to bring someone in an interview and sit down and ask them what they know. I want them to tell me what they're good at. I want them to tell me how they solved the problem previously. I want them, if they're fresh graduates, to tell me how did they went around to do their final year project, whatever it was. The interview is not about me, about the interviewer, to impose my ego to the person that I'm interviewing. The interview is about discovering. It's a discovering journey to hear you, what you have to say. And talents, and I would involve myself saying that I was, and I still am, a geek. In many senses, in many ways of the word. So I have certain ways of saying things if I'm in an interview, or I had. So the hiring manager should be reading between the lines, because they're not hiring a used car salesman. They're using a guy, a lady, a person that basically is writing code. They're reading their own stuff. They might be excited about certain things. Not everybody in a particular job description will know exactly the same thing. We're taking the individuality away. So this is what I mean by hiring talents. And I'm saying this because, to give you the highlights for those who don't really know me, or for those who do, it's nice to see some familiar faces. I've been in this industry for more than 20 years. I started back in 1998, and I went to the university on purpose that was doing practical information security and computer security back in 2001. And it was hardcore. I went to that university to do software engineering bachelor because only the master was the security, in order to do the security masters and to be prepared for that. I finished my bachelor's, I went back to my home, I found the lecture material of the masters, and I was studying by myself during the summer. How do you communicate this dedication and this excitement during an interview when the question is, do you remember the Aussie layer by heart? I don't care. Do you get my point? Do you see how the individual should be brought into the picture? So, among this journey, I have written a lot of code, not because I was a developer, but because I wanted to understand and do my life and make my life better. So when I wanted to do something and make my life easier, I wanted to script it or program it. I wanted to see how you do it. I wanted to understand it. I'll give you an example. Everybody's blocking IP addresses when they're reversing code. How many people do they block or are looking for decimal values instead of IP addresses? If you open up your terminal, your command line, and you ping a 9, if you can convert an IP address into a long decimal number, it works. So you don't have to hide IP addresses with IP addresses. You can convert them to decimal numbers. It's a long integer, basically. So if you know how things actually are done in your fields, in whatever everybody is working on, you can become an expert in your field. And these are the talents that we're looking for. Now, again, I've done my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD are all within the information security space. Again, to give you an example, back in 2004, I wrote the threat intelligence engine and the threat assessment engine. What you guys were using AI in 2004, which I explained what is the next version also, which is called notional understanding. It's the next evolution for computers to understand events back in 2004. After that, I have been doing projects in more than 16 countries around the world, one of them being Ireland. Most of the projects are on a need to know basis. And that is why I don't have time to go and flex on social media, fight with people on Twitter, post every day 45 times on LinkedIn, and do all these annoying things that I see. I like to go to conferences and meet people who are making a difference personally, and they know me, I know them, and that's it. I respect them, they respect me, and that's about it. There is no need for this online celebritism, because that celebritism also sometimes sidetracks, and you are celebritizing criminal mindset and very bad behaviors. And especially for the younger generation, when the people who are putting on a pedestal are the criminal mindset, they don't see that you are the heroes of your stories, because you are doing the hard work in security, and that's even harder. Taking a baseball bat to break a car, it's much, much easier and steal it than actually sitting down, designing the processes, designing the immobilizer, designing the encryption processes, and all that to protect and defend it. Right? I personally have more respect for this than telling me I downloaded an exploit from the dark web. I ran it, and I took down a company or whatever, and whatever. Doesn't matter. I hope that, again, communicates the right message. Now, to understand the extent of what I'm telling you, I have been involved in writing, designing, so many other words that it doesn't necessarily need to be said. Cybersecurity strategies, information security strategies for 3 different countries. So I've done some stuff in my 20 years of career, and I wish we had more time to go through a lot of the examples and the stories and lessons learned. However, today we are here to summarize what I've just opened up with something about the future, something about that I think will be beneficial to you. And it wouldn't be a cybersecurity presentation without the iceberg slide, right? With the hidden ice below the surface of the water. However, I do not have this there for that reason, though. I have it for a different reason. Because everybody's talking about cybersecurity, but I don't know how many of you actually know what does cyber actually means. Because cyber, and this is where the Greek element comes here, it's from the word kyberno. From the Greek word kyberno. And I wrote in Greek, it doesn't matter. The first 5 letters, the last one looks like an English P, in Greek is R. Kyberno in Greek means to steer and navigate. And back in the day, 25 years ago, it was being used for the cyberspace. You are doing things in a virtual environment in the cyberspace, in this the unknown. That is why we're using the word cyber today. There are many debates if we should be using it or not. That is a different discussion. So let's take you through the journey to navigate career paths. Right now, many of you, or some of you, or a lot of the people that you know in the organizations that you are working for, or you will work in the future, for those who are students, the leading, aspiring role in the organization is the role of the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. This role has been involved through different weird paths over the year, and a lot of weird conversations on what actually are the responsibilities of the Chief Information Security Officer. Some of you might be programmers. Some of you might be in DevSecOps. Some of you may be working in threat intelligence. Some of you may be working within the spectrum of the GRC, the Governance, Risk and Compliance. Some of you might be seeing the role of the CISO as the ultimate security-oriented job that pays a lot of money and you want to reach that level someday. So what happened, apparently, is that CISOs, over the years, they shoot themselves on the leg, on the foot, right? Is that the expression? On the foot. How? Well, you see, 20 years ago, when this thing started needing someone to lead the security space, it became a trend. And we have, until this day, CISOs who are there and want to be there, not to lead information security and cybersecurity initiatives, whatever. They want to be there to do only managerial work. They want to approve budgets, they want to manage people, and they want to join boardroom meetings. And that's about it. And believe me for saying this, and I've seen this because of my experience, and that's why I showcase the experience at the beginning. Otherwise, I rarely do that. Is because with banks, payment processors, acquirers, other companies, startups, private equities, and all these organizations that I've worked, government organizations, federal organizations I've worked with before, I see a very particular trend. CISOs wanted to be only managers, and when it comes to security incident breaches, I don't care about the breach, I care about the people working in this organization and protect their jobs, protect their career paths. That's my priority. This is why I get inspired to be in this industry. Because what I do is for the people that they are either working for this organization, so they can secure their jobs, they can make more money, they get like better bonuses and all that, and these people can feed their families, and there is some growth in order to bring more people and create more jobs. That's why I do what I do. So over the years, we saw that CISOs had this mentality that this is their job description, just to be there, to manage people and sign budgets. And we've all seen this little meme, I believe, whatever the buzzword is, of the empty jar of the budget before the data breach and the full of coins jar after the data breach. And I'm here to tell you, because I've been in these boardroom meetings, the only reason the jar was, 90% of the cases, empty before the breach, is because, and I'm sorry to the CISOs in the room, is because the CISO of the organization had no clue how to communicate risk to the boardroom and to the CEO. They couldn't go to the CEO and answer the question, so what? So if I do this, so if I don't do this, so what? They couldn't. Imagine investing into a business that has a CFO, a chief financial officer, that doesn't understand financials. You better close down, go home, and that's it. The company is going to go bankrupt. Same thing. Unfortunately, this is the truth. And if I go and present this into one of these big conferences that is full of CISOs in the auditorium, you understand the backlash. Not because I'm lying, simply because it doesn't follow the narrative. How does that have to do with all of you? I'll tell you why. Because in the fifth domain of operations, which is officially cyberspace, you can Wikipedia, Google it, which among sea, land, space, and air, the fifth domain of operation is officially cyberspace. You need people that understand what I said earlier, that are responsible, they are accountable, and they have the right core values, the right ethics, the right moral compass. One of the amazing stories, and I think Anthi might be remembering this story, because I do think she actually knows exactly who that person is. A few years back, I was having a conversation with a CISO, and I was trying to explain to him in what kind of risk he was putting not only the organization, but the employees. His bad ethics, his bad practices was putting people's jobs in jeopardy. This person turned around and said to me, what it will happen if the company gets completely breached and all IP is stolen, so basically it goes bankrupt. He tried to explain me what is going to happen. Because according to his words, I wasn't seeing the CISO picture. I wasn't manager enough at his level. He said this, number one, if there is an incident and everything goes to hell, we were going to be called into a briefing room with the CEO, stakeholders, the boardroom. Who do you think the CEO will believe? My security guy, my external consultant, my security engineer, or me? You will not even be allowed in the room. I will tell them what happened. So I'll get away with it. Number two, most probably, because this is how things are, after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I will be in another job by the time the manure hits the fence. Yeah? Yeah. So that puts you into a very good perspective, this person's ethics, this person's understanding, the responsibility, how he was operating on a daily basis, and of course, how he was treating his team. It was all about him, let him look good, and everything else doesn't matter. with your careers and in the industry and the people and the young people that you discuss out there, or they are, they're looking into their career paths and all that. Especially when I was starting my journey, it was very few career paths to take. However, information security or cybersecurity, whatever you want to call it, depending on the context, has a huge spectrum of career paths that you can follow. And personal attributes contribute significantly in your career path. Your mindset, your maturity, the level of understanding contributes significantly the way that you do pen tests, the way that you do social engineering, the way that you think outside the box to protect something, put defensive mechanisms, or take it to the next level. You might not be realizing it, but you do it, intentionally or unintentionally. So the career path that was obvious for many people, or still is do we become part of the blue team, or do we become part of the red team? And of course it has many little options here and there. What I'm trying to tell you here is that this is not the only two options. One of the ways to identify in what you are good at is by writing down on a piece of paper, what do you know best? What are you interested in? What do you like spending hours reading or understanding? And by listing those things down, you start create your own job description that you like to take your career path through. That was one of the ways and the method I was using when I was doing my PhD, because I was creating MSc projects and I was supervising MSc students. That was my approach, my methodology, in order to use in a way, again, from a Greek background, the Socratic method, to carve out what these people were good at already, what they were aspiring to be. So I was listening to them for half an hour or for an hour, right? Because the project would take like 3, 4, 6 months to do. What they like doing. So as I was writing these bullet points down, then I was saying, you know what? In order to combine this, in order to write a challenge for this, in order to make the third circle, which is for the future, I believe the project we would be more excited to do is this project, this idea. Believe it or not, I would say 99% of the time, the students were over the moon. They couldn't wait to finish the uni day in order to go home and start working on their projects. And they were extremely successful. The 1%, it was not that it was unsuccessful, it was simply during the process they discovered that they were overexcited, they wanted to put too much into the picture, and it started becoming a blow-up of different initiatives for the final project. That's how you empower people directly or indirectly. So, don't be the CISO backstory in the future. Don't try to earn a role or go for a job that is predefined for certain things. In the future, because of the spectrum and the evolution of cybersecurity and security being adopted properly up to a point to what we do with technology and the digital transformation that we're going through, the CISO role will involve, and it is already involving, and I will tell you why I'm saying this, to a speciality role that needs to drive change, needs to be the leader of a group. It doesn't need to be the definitive leader of a whole organization or a whole group of organizations. You can be within DevSecOps and have a leader in there that is that role, understands, leads, is the CISO role. So build your career paths towards becoming good at that particular area that you are interested in. Try to read and study for that particular role. If you want to take it somewhere else, if you want to become a CISO, for example, again, the CISO, what I'm saying CISO now, I mean the expert or the specialist or the lead of the cybersecurity team, space, vertical, department, right? I'm talking about that person. The person that an organization, a CEO, a company, or in a consultancy space, someone will come to you and say, I have this problem. We need to take this journey. I need your advice. I want your inputs, and I want you to drive it. In order to do this, you need to be informed. You need to be able to make informed decisions. Don't do what is happening today, where that informed decision is by a CISO, again, that he says to the CEO or to the people that are expecting his leadership or her leadership. Let me call Gartner, let me call this consultancy, let me call the Big Four, let me call someone, let's give them a lot of money. So basically to ask the question and answer a question that is so basic. And they should be driving the state. Now, how many of you have heard the Red Queen hypothesis? So the Red Queen hypothesis, which is also referred to as the Red Queen effect, is an evolutionary hypothesis which proposes that species and organisms must constantly adapt, evolve, and proliferate, not merely to gain a reproductive advantage, but to also survive while pitted against ever-evolving rival species organisms in a continuously changing environment. That reflects on how you should be seeing the cybersecurity space, the information security space, the roles that you are operating within. You have to constantly involve, not only you, at all levels of leadership. And unfortunately, the leadership that we currently have has been falling behind. Looking through the glass in Alice in Wonderland, the Red Queen, and that's why it's called the Red Queen hypothesis in this case, says to Alice, now here you see it takes all the running to keep in the same place. And this is what we do in cybersecurity. We have to simply keep running just to be on the same, to be on the same space. And if the leaders of today do not understand that, they're falling behind, and they have fallen behind. This is why there is a new, in a sense, a role that is being discussed for the future, that it will start replacing what is the current CISO role, the leader of a whole information security team or department. Because if you take under consideration people, processes, technology, and data, you need, when this thing goes forward, you need first of all to understand what it means to be responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. This comes from the race metrics, which usually we see leaders want to be consulted and informed and never be responsible or accountable for things. Now, here's something that you need to know. As you develop your own leadership skills, try to take under consideration the industry and the sector that you are operating within. The priorities of a penetration tester, the way that they are operating, the way that you conduct the penetration testing, right? The way that they are scheduling, planning, reacting, the risk they are taking in certain cases. When it comes to the oil and gas industry, is completely different when you will be doing that against telecommunications and media. Again, we've been taking the one solution fits all. Make sure that whatever you do in this industry, you take under consideration the industry and the sector that you are operating within. That will explode the way of your understanding on where you need to go. I'm closing with this. The path is difficult, however, there is a new sheriff in town. It's going to be called Chief Cybersecurity Officer. It is you as a Chief Operation Officers, as COOs. In your role, how do you perform and you operate? The Chief Cybersecurity Officer, it might sound like a fairy tale, but it is real. It is coming along. And NISA, as you know, it's the European Cybersecurity Agency. I appointed a Chief Cybersecurity Officer 2 or 3 months ago, simply because of all these reasons that I just told you. Because you need someone that can actually take responsibility and accountability as their daily area of operating. They need to take it under consideration. You need to have someone that when the organizations go to, they understand the bigger picture. They are not just there to drink coffee. How does that reflect against you? You are that role. You are that future. Whatever, again, you might be in blue team, you might be in a red team. In the future, you will have to understand very well your area, and you will have to give certain answers. It's not about let's run a pen test. It's about we are in oil and gas, here's the priorities, here's the mindset, here's how we should operate, these are the threats, these are the risks, this is what it means thinking outside of the box, this is how we redefine what we do with pen test. There is a huge opportunity if you try to do and think that way in the future. That, I usually say, makes you a security champion. However, I know it's a lot to take, and it takes a lot of discussion, and there might be you having a lot of questions, or I didn't explain something into much detail due to the constraints of the time. But believe me, it makes a huge difference. I can give you personal examples, which I cannot say on camera, how it will make your life extremely more easy if you take under consideration what we discussed today, in order to improve the way or change the way that you see and see things. That will definitely convert you into a security legend within your own organization or within your departments or within your career paths. Now, having said that, thank you so much for taking the time to be in this talk. I hope it was a little bit different from what you usually get as a keynote, because I wanted to be informative. And thank you for having me in Dublin. Take care. Enjoy your coffee and enjoy the day. If you have any questions, you can come and find me later on. If you want to ask something, I'm going to be here the whole day. Thank you so much.